Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Week 11 spread picks and preview. If you want to be one of the 10 million people to download or listen to the Pat Mayo Experience podcast, I suggest you go do that. It is in the very top of the description and in the comment section. Even if you just watch on YouTube, which I do thank you for. I much appreciate it. I don't want you to stop watching on YouTube, but, spend the extra 10 seconds. Go subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience. You don't need to rate and review. It would be lovely if you did. Just set it to auto-download. Hey, we can get to that 10 million download number. We're almost there. We'll get to it. And since I'm such a generous fella, I'll be giving away $20 DK live on Monday morning show, 10 a.m. Eastern time on the Draftkings YouTube channel. I want to know. Like the episode. That's the first thing you need to do. Step 2, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. Step 3, give me your projected point total in the Monday night game. Now, not in Mexico City, in Los Angeles, between the Chiefs and the Rams. The over-under is 63. I want to know what you think will be the point total in that game. All right? Joining me in studio, as he does every week, it's Geoff Fienberg. What's up?
Hello.
Got mics now?
Yeah, it's exciting.
This is really, it's worse for the visuals, but I really feel like the podcast audio downloader will be much happier.
And we're pushing for downloads.
And it will really improve
subscriptions.
And like when I yell, it won't be as bad for people anymore because the mics are a lot better. Yeah, it'll be much better.
Because last week I think I ventured in to the YouTube comments, which is like
what are you doing? That is poor form,
yeah,
sir.
You haven't lived unless you've put out content on YouTube and then read the comments.
Yeah, it's not great.
But no, people think I yell too, so I think this will help.
We'll see. Or maybe it'll just make the yelling more forceful.
Potentially.
And I won't be picking up on your mic, you won't be picking up on my mic, and just the overall gain doesn't need to be cranked as much. Because we only got one guy who's switching the camera and doing the audio at the same time. So it's hard for him to keep up. These fantastic mics, very fantastic, will help us go through. My voice is coming back too, which is really nice. We're back on track for the week. Let's introduce the third member of the show. His name is The Coin. He was hot fire last week. And the fourth member of the show, he was in studio on Sunday, so you saw him. He's a real person, which is frankly quite shocking. It is Tim Cust.
Tim Cust.
That is not my name.
You were live in studio.
Yeah. Basically, it was like when Daft Punk takes off their helmets. That's what I did in studio by showing that I'm a real person. I'm a cyborg.
I watched Sunday morning, and
Tim didn't know what to do with his hands. That was kind of funny.
Also, he brought, because he was telling us on Saturday night when we were together, but he didn't make the big reveal that he brought his, Jets helmet.
It was good. He had to take it off halfway through because it got too heavy.
They're incredibly heavy.
They're not heavy. I picked it up. Very much not heavy.
I think it's an 8-year-old boy can wear it for 4 quarters. You could last for the show.
It's a lot heavier than you think. And that's the sacrifice I was willing to make for the show. It's the effort I made to take that halfway across the continent to bring it to the people as their tribune. I wouldn't let them down. Any chance to make a funny is worth it.
Well, the 3 of us got to hang out on Saturday night, which I think attributed to the loss of my voice.
Probably.
I'm going to guess that was the major player as it came down to it. As I was feeling sick, felt a little bit better, decided to get super banged up, and all of a sudden I can't speak anymore. So that's never great. But Tim's riding a heater with you. Please explain this.
Well, first, I guess I need to apologize because I called him I was angry. I called him an insane person to his face because we were getting together. We went to an old friend's. The Notre Dame game was the featured thing. So I'm like, okay, I guess I should put some action on the game. And by the time I realized the game was on, because I was running behind, it was already 14-0. So I just bet the total. And it was going bad. I bet the under, a live under, and there were a lot of early points. And then Tim was telling me not to worry. I'll be okay. I'm going to win. And even when things were going really bad, he's like, no, you're fine. You're going to win. And I called him an insane person. He got really offended by that. So I took it back and I apologized. And in the end, the bet won. And then in every subsequent bet, me and him have sort of discussed personally. We don't we haven't bet each other just in breaking down games or side talking about games. He's riding a heater. And he says he's 4-0, but I'll actually go on a streak to give him 5.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually going to give him a 5th.
So we need to be informed of the games that you two are talking about.
Well,
Because overall, not so much a heater.
So he hit me a live bet that was going like very poorly. He told me not to sweat it. And then we were talking about Sunday's
Euro golf
potential. And he predicted Lee Westwood to come back and win. When me and you were just sort of breaking it down, thinking it'd only be Louis or Sergio.
Sure. And then he's like, oh, Lee Westwood. I like Lee Westwood, which is something Tim says a lot.
Yeah. And what was the third one, Tim?
The Bills are going to absolutely blitz.
Sorry. So sorry, I take that back. So that was I thought we didn't talk about it. So that was the one I thought I'm giving him double bonus points. That's why I say 5. He was so bang on about his Jets game.
I watched the game with him, and it was hilarious how mad he was.
No, but I don't think he's ever called the game as accurately as that one ever. Like to the script he put last week. That kind of got laughed at, like, because I don't know what quarterback could show up with 3 days. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with how Tim laid it out on every level, from the offense to the defense to the coaching. So I'm giving him a double bonus on that. And then the way we joked about his confidence in the Giants on Monday, which had me flip-flop my pick, not really because of Tim, but the more I just thought about it and I took the points with the Giants when it was time to bet it Monday afternoon. So this is probably just really boring, people, but Tim's on his own
mini heater. He did get a double assist, and so did you from the refs on that final drive for the Giants.
Well, I had the Giants on my bet was 3.5, so I was in the clear at that point. That being said, Tim is such a credit whore.
I know.
No, I'll give him this. For a guy that is when the internet is so quick to pounce on him for being wrong, it's kind of like exactly I don't want to jump too far down his throat for being a credit whore, but he's just instantly looking for his tires pumped. Even now he wants you to pump his tires on his Super Bowl pick. He's a bit of a credit whore, but it's offset by the fact that the internet is that sort of, always knock him down 6 pegs.
Oh, of course. Exactly. Well, when you get 99 things wrong to every 100 picks and you're clamoring for credit on the one pick you get right, it's a bit tough. Now, you could have been like Pat Mayo, who's giving away 66-1 winners last week. Tim, were you doing that?
I'm not as good as you.
See, that's the thing. That's what I want. When I'm cashing in 66-1 bets, then I want some credit for that.
I'm still I don't know what other Jets fans were thinking, but I don't think they were calling it like Tim was calling it.
No, I honestly thought the Jets would be significantly better with McCown. The only thing that didn't happen in Tim's prediction was Bulls getting fired because he's there for life.
No, but he got fired. In theory, this was the game that, yes, he's getting fired at the end of the year, but this is the game. This is going to be the 10-week period where ownership, knows he's being fired and tells the people that they want to still be there to sort of start preparing that short list of candidates so they can sort of have a head start like Cleveland, maybe potentially, when it's time to hire coaches. But literally, it was all, he didn't care about who was playing, who wasn't playing. It was literally all about the coach, and the Bills were going to romp them.
Well, I mean, Tim, your big thing was you didn't think that the players would want to show up and play for another quarterback besides Sam. That was your thesis.
That was part of it.
I don't really want to give them credit for that part.
That was part of it. I also thought they had just given up completely on their head coach. I thought that the offense was way too injured. And Buffalo has been covering big numbers all year, and we're in a divisional game where the Jets had no right to be laying those kind of numbers.
Buffalo showed up. And then if you sort of flash back, you think back to last year, weren't the Jets just doing this mob dancing on the field?
Yep.
Where's Buffalo? And
well, it's funny. I did these hits for SNY, and I recorded it when Safe Space Sam was still playing quarterback. And I was like, take the Bills. This is way too many points. And then McCown came in, so I had to reshoot the video. I was like, they're way better with McCown. Definitely take the Jets in this. It was stupid.
I would like to say this as the sane person on the show who's a big Sam Darnold fan without bias.
You sound pretty biased because you think that he's good. So that means maybe you're insane too.
I think it also proved how
Does it though?
screwed he has been.
Thank you. That's what I was saying.
Like
too.
that's also the main takeaway for me from that game.
The best is we're watching the game and Tim is saying this exact same thing. So you're just spouting Tim rhetoric at this point. These are Tim.
I wasn't
these-
with you on
No,
Sunday,
but
and
these-
I haven't
but
spoken to
these
Tim
are
about
Cust
this.
talking points. So this is Cust talking
It's
point
not,
number
no,
one.
it's 100% fair.
And our friend just turns to him halfway through. He's like, yeah, but what are you going to do when Sam Darnold gets fat in 2 years? And then it shook Tim. It was pretty funny. Fat man.
Geoff and I are in violent agreement about this. It was altogether a pretty good day for the Jets because it proved certain points that needed to be proven. And now it basically locks up a fourth place schedule for next year when we have Bell and we have Darnold in the second year and an offensive line. I mean, we're the betting favorite to get
So
Bell.
you're getting Le'Veon Bell, Tyrell Williams.
and draft an offensive lineman next with the Patriots on a clear decline, and we're seeing it again this year. I mean, we'll be in good shape for next season. Put it that way. We'll be a playoff caliber team next season.
Someone also brought up, because we're into November, reminded us that Tim last year tweeting like just about this time that this would be about the week the Jets are clinching their playoff spot for the year.
I was a year early. What can I tell you? It'll be next year, not this year.
So, where would you rank Le'Veon Bell amongst running backs in the league, Tim?
I don't know.
Right.
Fourth?
Fourth? Really? You wouldn't be higher than that?
No, I mean, Gurley is better. Kamara is better. McCaffrey is better. I mean, and I guess Barkley is better. So maybe fifth, actually. I'm where I think about it.
So you want the Jets to go out and spend all this money on the fifth best running back in football?
It's not desirable, but the thing is, the money is just not going to get spent if they don't spend it on Bell. Like,
See,
if they
I
don't buy
thought-
Bell,
So
it'll just be dead money.
But here's the thing. When he signs with the Colts and doesn't sign with the Jets or someone else, he's going to be like, he's no good. He's awful. Because this is exactly the same
Well,
thing
no,
we heard
this
with
is
Kirk
exactly.
Cousins.
He's either going to be like the second best running back in the league when he signs with the Jets, or the 25th best running back in the league when he signs with someone.
Someone
Tim
else.
I want him,
deems
but if he doesn't go
inappropriate.
there, so be it. I won't be bitter about it.
Of course not.
Unless
You
he
need never,
goes to like the Patriots or something.
well, maybe he will go to the Patriots. Then
What
will
a
he be the worst running back in football?
Crazy.
Last thing before we jump into the games here and go to the record. I watched the Monday night game with Tim, the Giants game, and he was so jealous of Nick Mullins the entire time, shaking his head like silently whenever Jason Witten would say something positive about Nick Mullins. They did a story about how he got Twitter verified. Then Tim just under his breath muttering to himself, I should be Twitter verified. Like, it was very petty. Why are you so jealous of Nick Mullins?
I'm not jealous of him, but I should be Twitter verified.
But just
Like,
anything positive said about Nick Mullins, like how I'm sitting there telling him, like, he's clearly better than Sam Darnold. Like, let's be real here. And Tim's like, no,
Mullins
he's
played
not.
like trash.
Put it this way, if Mullins is playing like trash, and that's a good game, and that's a bad game for him, the guy's going to be excellent.
Mullins has a head coach who can maximize his talent. I mean,
Yeah, Mullins is going to get paid because he's his coach.
Also,
I don't know about paid, but he's going to paid in the sense that he's probably guaranteed himself like 8 years in the league, at least holding a clipboard because of like this situation.
sure, but Tim also brought up that if Sam had players like Matt Breida, he'd never lose a game. That's a direct quote.
I didn't just say Breida. Breida is a
No,
very
you did say Breida. It was after Breida caught the touchdown. He said if you have players like Matt Breida, you'd never lose a game. Although you claim before the season that Thomas Rawls would rush for 1,400 yards and he was excellent. And then you said Isaiah Crowell was a top 10 running back.
I said players such as Kittle.
No,
and
you didn't.
Breida.
You did not bring up Kittle. You just said
Yes, I
Breida.
did.
No, you didn't. Now you're living your truth again and not remembering the fact. You don't seem to remember anything about this.
I did say Breida, but I also said Kittle. I mean, that Niners offense is more talented than what the Jets are rolling out there. That's all there is to it. Sam wouldn't be losing games if he had that kind of skill and that kind of coaching.
What's with you and the Jets?
Me?
I don't get it.
I think Sam Darnold is
terrible.
really
Exactly.
good.
No, he's the Achilles Smith of the next generation, of our generation.
No.
It's unfortunate he's not 19 years old.
He started so few games. I'm not saying that that's a reason he's going to be good, but there's a reason
That he's so
I've
bad?
seen enough.
That's the reason he's so bad? Because he's so young?
No, I've seen enough to know that his floor will be fine.
Okay. If he could be as good as Josh McCown as a career, that'd be pretty impressive.
All
I
right.
think.
Let's give her.
All right. Recap of last week. The coin was the undisputed champion of the world, 8-5-1. I was the Nutlow, as I am so far this season, 4-9-1. Geoff was 5-8-1. Cust was 6-7-1. Tim, you picked up 2 games on me. You're now 12 ahead of me for the rest of the season. You're inching closer to getting just into dormy in our picks competition. Superlock, I lost. Tim pushed. Geoff won. 7-3 for you in Superlock.
Yeah, and I think that started
0-2.
0-2. And the coin, we've been battling back and forth. It takes over again.
The coin now leads by a game.
I knew last week was going to be bad because it sort of was. It's this time of year where we think we've seen enough to draw conclusions, and not draw conclusions, but think we know who these teams are, and they'll continue to surprise us.
The only thing I think I got right last week was Tennessee money line. That was it.
It's a good call.
Yeah, everything else I needed it to make sure I didn't lose all of my money, because that would have been bad. Thursday night, Green Bay at Seattle. 2.5 is the spread right now. Seattle is favored. The over-under is 49 in this game. Let me ask you, Geoff, is Green Bay any good?
I long am like the captain of the ship here in picking on Green Bay for how poorly they've done in surrounding Aaron Rodgers and not taking advantage of his time.
Do you think if they had Matt Breida, they'd never lose a game?
I think Russell Wilson is just as good, and compared to Aaron Rodgers, is underrated.
Okay, he's not as good as Aaron Rodgers, but that gap is closer than
underrated. He's certainly not the most underrated quarterback of our life, though.
Different conversation. You don't want to drag off there. I like Seattle here. It almost feels, even though picking against Rodgers, it kind of feels like too simple. Just the way Thursday nighters have been going, I believe Seattle is the better team. Getting them at home for under the 3. I think in a lot of places it might be up to it. I would get on it. I've already bet it. I trust Seattle. I think the best player in the game margin isn't as far apart as people think.
Okay, so I like Seattle as well. I think that they're going to control the game on the ground. I think their defense has been, even without Earl Thomas, their defense is still pretty good. So I think they can limit Green Bay enough, and they'll be able to post a lot of points. Their efficiency is off the charts. It looks like there might be no Jimmy Graham. He's going to be a game-time decision for the Packers. No Randall Cobb for the Packers. Chris Carson will return for the Seahawks. The coin likes Green Bay, Tim. Who do you like?
I like Seattle. I think it's a bad number. I mean, the books are saying they think Green Bay is the better of the two teams. I think that's asinine. Asking Green Bay to go on a long road trip on a super short week into a place where they have lost a ton of football games in the Aaron Rodgers era. If I'm not mistaken, Rodgers has never beaten Seattle in Seattle. So it's just, go ahead. Sorry if I'm wrong.
No, they've been some of the weirdest games. That crazy playoff game, the comeback, and the game with the alternate, the junior
touchdown,
refs. Or the replacement refs, yeah. So expect a weird game, but I think Seattle's got the better coach. The Thursday dynamic. I don't think the quarterback play is as far off as national television.
And let's be real here. Although the
believes.
defenses look better for Green Bay over the past 3 weeks, like Seattle's D is better.
Both teams, though, are kind of like been in the schedule gauntlet. With the Packers, it's been the Rams and the Patriot game. They got a reprieve with the Dolphins. And then with Seattle, a tough game versus the Chargers coming down to the end. Back-to-back games have sort of come down to the end with them having the ball. So a couple hard losses on Seattle. Hopefully they're ready for this one.
Yeah, 3 of Seattle's 5 losses are twice to the Rams and to the Chargers. I mean, you look at this Seattle team. I mean, look, I think that there's just value in the play here. I mean, this should be Seattle -4. It's 2.5. You're getting a free half point here, 1.5 to take them.
I don't love to agree with Tim, but I do agree with Tim.
I was going to say this makes all of us, and I'll say this. Both conferences, you could sort of pick the playoff teams, but the last playoff spot in both conferences seem incredibly wide open to pretty much anyone with a pulse. The winner of this game doesn't guarantee anything, but the loser's done. So it's exciting. And we haven't had a good Thursday nighter since week 4, as Tim corrected me on. So it's been a long time. Hopefully we get a gem.
Week 4 was Baker Mania, right?
No, that was week 3. Week 4
that was
the
a great
next
game.
One. It was a
Vikings and Rams.
Rams.
So I want to let everyone know the odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the coin likes Green Bay in that spot. Sunday games. Carolina at Detroit. My good friend Phil Perkins, who came out to watch the games with us on Sunday, will be in attendance because he loves Cam and he loves the Panthers. So he's going to go see his boy. Okay. Detroit sucks, man. Like, they're killing me here. Like, how did they get so bad over the course of a month?
It seems like Detroit, it's standard MO. Against not good teams, they're the team to pick. Against teams in a different tier, they're equal tier or above them, they seem to struggle. The unfortunate thing for us is Detroit has looked so bad that we get no value that we normally get when a team gets their asses whomped on national television.
So, yeah, Carolina's a 4-point favorite in Detroit.
Yeah.
And the over-under's 51.
You would have hoped maybe after everyone saw them get the wood laid to them that we could get something. That being said, I still think I'm taking Carolina here. I think they are just the better football team with the rest.
Yeah, like I don't see where the Lions outclass the Panthers at all here. Tim, it seems like we talked about this last week. All of those crappy numbers that were laid out there that made no sense. The only one that I really bid on the Raiders, and they really should have covered that game because that was stupid. But the Titans covered, the Cardinals covered that gigantic number, the Browns covered. Like, there was enough of them out there that you know that Vegas was going to battle back because everyone was just on one side of those games, and it went the other way. Who's not lining up to bet Carolina here? I want to bet Carolina. Like, that's the one thing that gives me pause is this is only 4.
It's a very public side too, but this could be one where the public.
Like, Tim, who wants to back Detroit here?
I do.
Okay, why?
They're in the short list of perhaps super locks. It's a pure play against the Panthers. This Panthers team, and I don't want to rehearse this litany every week, but they have so many fluky and weird wins, and they have been beaten soundly by good teams. And so I just look at Carolina. I understand the world hates Detroit. Detroit's been playing terribly, but I think the Panthers and Lions are far closer to each other than not. I mean, on a neutral field, this would be a 7-point game for the Panthers. Really? I don't think the Panthers are 7 points better than the Lions. Like, that's what this line implies. I think that the Panthers are slightly better than Detroit. The Lions do play better at home. Carolina did get absolutely destroyed and humiliated on primetime. They said they've been in a ton of weird games. I just think Detroit this is a prime spot. The number is very fishy in terms of, like, I think Carolina's going to get all the action. That you step in front of a home dog here, it's a classic contrarian play. And if the NFL is true to form, this is the type of game that the Lions will cover more often than they don't. So even if the Lions lose by 3, great, then I get the cover. So I'm going to take the Lions.
Quickly of note, this is the game before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, Thanksgiving's next week. So this will be it'll be a short week for Detroit coming up, and it's a long week for Carolina from last week as well, so they get the extra 3 days to prepare for this. I'm just going to go with the better quarterback in the game, the better team. I'm going to take Carolina. They've been good on the road, covering on the road, except for the Pittsburgh game, obviously.
Injuries also could be a concern here with the Golden Tate trade. If Jones is out, if Carolina
I think
really
Jones
just
is
has to go against Galladay, that would be just an easier task defensively.
This is true.
I think you can wait to bet Detroit. If you like Detroit as I do, I don't think 4 is the best of the number you're going to get.
I would probably agree. Unless it's a bait job.
Yeah, it could be a bait job, drop to 3.5, suck everyone in on Detroit. Like, oh, the Sharps love Detroit, and then boom, everyone loses their money on Detroit.
But I'm like the psychopath that would give me more confidence in my.
Yeah,
like,
I felt what you say the same thing.
If that actually does happen, I go to the window probably with more confidence, even though I'm getting 2 less points.
Yeah,
and then I make the case like, who cares? Like, what would 5.5 mean anyway?
Yeah, so it's 4 right now. So I'll take the -4 with Carolina. The coin backs up you and I, Geoff. All 3 of us are taking Carolina in the spot. Cincinnati and Baltimore off the board because we do not know who is playing quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. So it's a tough game to talk about. Do you think who would okay, let's just say straight up. Let's say Flacco plays. Who do you like, Geoff?
Is he healthy?
Just say who knows.
I will bet Baltimore if their quarterback playing is healthy.
Okay, Tim?
I'm backing Cincinnati no matter who's playing.
Okay. Do you have because there's talk that Robert Griffin could start this game and not Lamar Jackson. I would prefer Robert Griffin start if I wanted to take the Ravens.
I agree. I don't think the Ravens are a bad team. I think they're still a well-coached team, and you know how I feel about, especially off a bye, decent team, getting that backup in there. We haven't really had this dynamic this year. Quarterbacks are staying healthy other than Sam Bradford.
Same
I mean, I'm reading reports to say the Ravens have concluded with Harbaugh to part ways at the end of the year. This Ravens team looks like it's beginning.
Yeah, that's been out there.
This Ravens team is league. This is the sort of team that could lose 7 of their last 8 down the stretch if things begin to fall apart.
Every single season, you do see a veteran team that had expectations.
But the only expectations were really put on them by me.
No,
I love the Ravens. That was about it.
But also, like, internally. I don't
Sure, but maybe what they need is a shot in the arm with a new quarterback.
Yeah.
And maybe that gets them going, and all of a sudden they've righted the ship.
I mean,
because the defense is still awesome.
Yeah, the defense should be fine unless Eric Weddle has a falling out with some members of the staff and his daughter's performing in a halftime cheerleading recital. Then the defensive captain will still be there. No, I love Eric, but that bothers me. You can't be the defensive captain and not be in the locker room at halftime.
So
I love Eric, and I love the fact that, and I love my daughter, so he loves his daughter. But still, you're the defensive captain. You got to be in the locker room at halftime. I don't care what the contract situation is.
So I'm just trying to think this through. What is a bigger loss? If Flacco doesn't play for the Ravens, which we can concede might not even be a loss, could be a very lateral move, or Hugh Jackson getting added to the Bengals staff. That's worth like 5 points right there.
I kind of said this to you yesterday. I don't agree. Dalton had his best season.
Cust is on Team Hugh, by the way.
No, I'm just saying. Lay it out. Dalton had his best season under Hugh. Hugh is a smart enough guy that he's been able to get multiple jobs. He knows the Cincinnati infrastructure. I don't think he hurts them in any way. I mean, Hugh's greatest struggles were about running a franchise. He doesn't have any of those responsibilities now. So, I mean, if he can just do things that he does have some world-class skills. You don't get to be a head coach in the NFL if you don't have some world-class capacity to coach football. If they focus him on the right things, I don't know how it hurts. I think it's probably good for Dalton. Cincinnati is a desperate team. Every year,
they still have the wild card.
They do, and I always cite Sun Tzu, who says when a team finds itself on death ground, they fight. And I think that's where the Bengals are. I think this is their season. I think they're done if they lose this game. I really do.
You say that now, but isn't this guy the king of like
the team's quit?
Yeah, they quit.
No, I don't think they're quit. I just think it will put a lot of air out of the balloon.
I will say this:
Baltimore and win. I think they've got to have it. I think they need it, and I think the Ravens are dissolving. And so I just think the Bengals are the play here.
I want to say this: if the Bengals did cover, let alone win, Tim probably would have counted that on his heater.
You think so?
Yeah,
because he's throwing out the games.
He was very confident in that game. Also in our evening roundup. If that game covered, he probably would have found a way to let me know.
To the heater? Yeah.
That would have been
but
included.
It didn't hit, so it's not a part of the heater.
Here we are.
I like the Ravens either way.
I'll say this about the end. I think we've seen time and time again this year.
Do you think Hugh Jackson going to trade for A.J. McCarron to start him over Dalton?
Teams that get like what we deem is their worst performance of the year have all kind of really responded.
Yeah, the Redskins.
Even the Raiders, like a human team covers versus the Chargers last week.
Or a quarterback that doesn't spike the ball on fourth down.
So like, I mean, listen, time and time again, whether every team that's sort of like completely been like embarrassed has kind of found a way the next week to show up. If Flacco plays, I like
Baltimore.
No.
If Flacco, you like the Bengals if Flacco
plays? If
Yeah,
it's some fresh blood in there, and I like Baltimore.
There is one exception to Geoff's rule, which was the Patriots got destroyed by the Jags, and then that fraud team got destroyed the next week by the Lions. So
they're different. They're different. They're an exception to all rules.
They're also not going to win the AFC East, according to Tim. Even money.
But like you remember before World War I, people referred to Turkey as a sick man of Europe.
I remember before World War I?
They still had like power and prestige, but they were clearly moribund. Well, such is the New England Patriots now.
Yeah,
the Ottoman Empire.
I was going to say,
what's the guy's name?
Franz Ferdinand, Archduke.
I know some things. Paid
He
attention.
was assassinated.
He started.
But are the Patriots going to get a cool piece of furniture named after them before their decline?
Yeah, just deflated footballs. You can take a seat on those.
No, those would be very uncomfortable on my neck, I think, if I was hanging on the couch. So I'll take Baltimore. You just have no pick? I guess it's off the board.
Okay, but because the purposes of
This show, make a pick.
I'm gonna pick Baltimore.
Okay, Baltimore coins Baltimore. Tim, you're Cincinnati?
Yep.
Okay, Dallas, Atlanta. Atlanta favored by 3 at home. So Atlanta goes into Washington, blows the doors off the Redskins. They go into Cleveland, don't look so hot. Dallas, out of nowhere, just destroys my super lock last week because the stupid Eagles can't play defense anymore. Is this Dallas team better? They're clearly better than I thought they were, but Tim, are they as good as you think they are?
I don't know. I kind of like both of these teams a lot. It's a tough spot for me, and the line is perfect. I still think Dallas's defense is top shelf. I think if Dallas constructs their offense to run it through Zeke, both in the passing and running game, that can be very effective. But in the dome, as much as I like Dallas, as much as I think Atlanta is an even harder team to figure out, and I just trust Atlanta at home. I'm going to take them. I won't have a dime on this game. I don't love this game in any way, shape, or form, but I would lean Atlanta ever so slightly.
I'm taking Atlanta as well. The one thing that we've seen with Dallas is they're very good at shutting down. They're good at limiting running backs, controlling the pace of the game, and really limiting the impact a wide receiver one can make on you. The one good thing about Atlanta is if you shut down Julio, then it's Ridley season. Then it's Sanu season. Austin Hooper starts going crazy. So if you put all your focus into taking away their one big passing weapon, a lot of teams don't have the luxury Atlanta does to be able to continue to move the ball vertically on you, and I think that's what they're going to do here. And they're getting healthier on defense for once.
That is something that the point spread I don't think is going to take into account, but a big potential addition for the Atlanta defense, which will help them exponentially. This is a contention for a super lock for me.
Oh,
I'm not kidding. I don't
it's a
think,
sweep of Atlanta.
I don't
the coins
think,
on Atlanta
I don't
too.
think this stays at 3. I think you're going to be happy to get 3.
I don't know. And Dallas is Thanksgiving game, obviously, so they have a short week coming up as well. But very rarely do you see a Dallas line slide.
Atlanta's still a team that people like to back because they're fantasy cool, or at least they have names. I'll say this as well. I think Dallas going on that prime time, getting that big outright win, I think did us a favor on the number. I like the number. Had Baltimore, Atlanta. I think the only one in the panel to have Cleveland last week in that really weird game. So that loss didn't really surprise me, and I'm happy to get. I don't say that like I care for any credit. I say that Atlanta losing that game was no shock to me at all, and I'm happy to get right back on them here at home is maybe one of my favorite plays this week.
Round sweep of Atlanta. Houston at Washington. Washington 3-point dogs at home. I was the only one on Washington last week, and my entire logic was, no one wants to bet Washington. They win stupid games, and they won a stupid game against the Fitzmagic.
This could be the exact. You should probably just go to the window with maybe that same logic.
What
a ridiculous. I don't even know what to make of it. That many red zone possessions for Tampa. The yardage
over 500 yards of offense, 3 points.
So
Washington should have lost, but they didn't because they're Washington. Here's the big problem now. Houston has the players to really take advantage of an offensive line that has no healthy people on. What's Alex Smith gonna do, brother, when J.J. Watt is coming for you?
I said I'm going to pick on Washington for a few week stretch, and I got burned hard last week, but I'll stick on the notion that they suffered injuries that they can't overcome. The only way to overcome the injuries they overcame was playing those morons. Because, like 99 times out of 100, Tampa wins that game and covers that game, right?
Yeah.
Good for Washington. They played with a lot of heart, and they should continue to play with a zest because the division is ridiculous. But they are too beaten up to play this team with that talent.
So, Tim, you took the home dog with Detroit. Are you going to take the home dog with Washington?
Oh, yeah, and we're going to make them as the first part of a 5-team, 6.5-point tease.
5-team, 6.5-point tease. I think you were 3 for 6 on your teaser last week.
I stopped paying attention when the Patriots lost. I mean, I was glad to lose it because the Patriots lost. But
well, the Patriots lost. The Falcons lost.
Yeah, it didn't help. Not great. Listen, I, too, have been very critical on this show of Washington, particularly after the couple of performances they've shown up. But, hey, you know what? At this point, I think it's I think the line is disrespectful. I think the Texans are not a team I love on the road to begin with. Outdoors and elements. Washington can slow a game down. They can play smart enough to. So, I mean, the Texans, again, have played in games where they have struggled to score and have not looked impressive. So even though they're on a bit of a winning streak, I think they're playing a bit over their skis. And I think, just looking at I don't think Smith will make any mistakes to kill them. I think the world will sort of be on the Texans here because, like Geoff, they know all the weird factoids about that game. Washington, one of my favorite factoids about the Redskins, people now probably all know, is that they have not had a single lead change in any of their 9 games. All 3 they lost. They lost from the start. All 6 they won from the start. Just a very strange team. I'm going to tease them because I don't respect the Texans enough on the road yet to give them credit against a 6-3 division leader to be laying 3 points into them. It means Vegas thinks they're 6 points better, and I don't think that they are. I think they're a very close. I think Washington and Houston are very similar teams in terms of their talent level. So I'm going to take the Skins.
I think you guys are right.
What?
I just feel like
I'm taking Houston here.
Oh,
Houston's better in every aspect of the game.
okay.
Like, they have a better quarterback. They have the better receiver. I mean, AP might be better as a
I
running
don't
back.
trust myself to bet it, but for the
I
purposes
actually
of this,
might.
I
actually might jump on this. I can see. I mean, this could be a really close one of those scummy games like Washington has been playing over and over, or the Texans just come in and roll them coming off a bye
Just
week.
remember, the Texans are one of the 3 worst coached teams in the NFL.
This is true.
Do you wanna
But now you're giving Hugh Jackson passes.
They've
No,
won
no,
all
I'm not-
these
he's not
games
he's
in a
not head
row.
coach anymore.
I'll say this because the day I bet them, I think it was their first win of the year to beat Indy. It was a road game.
In overtime when Indy went for it on 4th
I
down.
supplemented that Houston bet with a sprinkle on Bill O'Brien, first coach to get fired.
You're hedging yourself.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm on Houston today, but if they lose this game and go 0-4, I think O'Brien's fired for sure. I think he does suck, but it's hard for a Charger fan to say Houston hasn't beaten anybody either, right? Like, that would be silly for me to pick on them for that.
So
and I'm picking them this week.
The 2 big things in this game come down to, can the offensive line get any push for Adrian Peterson to be able to run the ball? Because every time, except for really last week when Peterson was relatively ineffective, he's been the one controlling the game for them. He's been the one, like last week, they just gave up a bunch of yards on defense and somehow the other team didn't score. Like, that's not a strategy. Houston's going to score more than that. At least their kicker's good enough to make a 30-yard field goal. So if AP can't run, and Houston's run defense is top shelf, they funnel everything to the pass. They have no offensive line to actually pass block for Alex Smith against one of the better defensive lines in football. Like, it seems like a tough task, I think. And I think this could be a game where the Texans sort of assert themselves as maybe unwarranted, too, if they beat Washington, because none of us think that Washington's all that good, but the Texans go in and win, like, 24-10 or something and really stomp down Washington. And then everyone's like, oh, are the Texans legit players in the AFC? And it turns out they won't be, but it's a game that they can set themselves apart because, honestly, I just don't think that Washington's that good. So Houston for me, Houston for the coin, Houston for Geoff, Tim taking the points and teasing
I'm
up.
on an island here.
And
I'm on an island on 2 games.
Not so much.
Yeah, so much.
2.
Bengals. 3. I was Lions, Bengals. Game.
And this one. The other one we were all across the board the same on.
That's 3 on an island through 5 games.
Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. 5.5 points is the spread in this game. The over-under is 47. I'm taking Jacksonville in the points. I think that there's some sort of weird mysticism behind this team. It worked out earlier this year when I took Tennessee. We both took Tennessee against Jacksonville because Tennessee has their number. I think the Jags might have the Steelers' number. So I'm taking them.
A few things. I agree with you, but it's been pointed out to me that I've been picking on people know who we seem to pick on or who we don't. Apparently, I pick on Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh fans want me to continue to pick on Pittsburgh.
Don't listen to Pittsburgh fans.
I'll say this. I feel like such a fool because it is like my thing about picking the Pittsburgh, being so good at picking the Pittsburgh rounds of 60 and the Pittsburgh rounds of 80 golf styles. And I shouldn't have cared what the spread was last week because it should have just known this was going to be like their Rory McIlroy 61. Like the Thursday nighter. I should have just freaking known that. And we got that from them. But I think we're getting like a 78 this week. So I'm picking Jacksonville plus the points.
Tim?
I think Pittsburgh right now is the second best team in the NFL based on the last 6 weeks. They are rolling. I love the Steelers in this game. I don't know that they've got an 80 game right now. I think that's out of their system. We've seen them play.
But
Not a
even
chance
even
that's
when
out-
they're
not a
awesome,
chance
that's
that's out of
never
their
out of their
system.
system.
Just when you're like sort of handing them their playoff spot and their division title, that's exactly when it like infiltrates. That's exactly when it takes over their
I'm
system.
handing them the bot.
I will say this though. I've just found out that the Week 13 Chargers Steelers game has been moved to Sunday night.
Oh, primetime.
Made sense because I think Seattle and San Francisco was in that spot or something. So that made sense.
So do you think that they're now going to overlook this game against Jacksonville?
This is a few weeks away.
Yeah, but I mean, it's against the Chargers. You got to look ahead. You got to get prepped for that game.
No. I don't know what you're trying to joke with, but my pick on Jacksonville plus the points has zero bearing. And I would argue for the Chargers' perspective, that game getting flex is probably disadvantages. Colder when the sun goes down.
True. So Tim's on Pittsburgh. The rest of us on Jacksonville. Going to see a lot.
And Pittsburgh is the second end of a 6.5 point tease.
So you're teasing them to
Plus a half.
to +1?
Yeah, plus a half.
+1.
It's 6.5, right?
Oh, it's 5.5. Sorry, yeah. So it's
Yeah, so Pittsburgh +1. All right. As an update, your free money teaser is now 1-9 for the year.
I'm aware.
Okay, just letting the people know. The people need to know these things. Tampa Bay at the New York Giants. The Giants, Tim's Giants, favored by 1 point at home. The over-under is 52. This is on short list super lock consideration for me. Tampa is going to wax them. Wax them.
We seem to be on a lot of same sides this week, Pat.
I think we picked every game exactly the same.
I also
so far.
do like Tampa, but this is one of the harder games for me to call. Usually bad teams don't win. And it's funny to call like that win on Monday like a big win.
They beat San Francisco.
But it was, and your future Hall of Famer Nick
Mullins, who Tim's very triggered by.
But I don't know. Bad teams don't usually respond well to like nice things happening. So I don't like Tampa, but holy.
Well, the biggest
this sucks.
The biggest difference in the Monday night game, and the reason that I ended up on San Francisco, is because I thought the defensive line of the 49ers would be able to break through and get to Eli. That didn't happen. They blocked pretty well. Eli had time to throw. Tampa Bay's defensive line with Gerald McCoy back ranks inside the top 10 in terms of pass rush, and the Giants outclassed the Niners in terms of skill position players. I thought the defensive line would overcome that. But this week, like, Barkley's better than any running back they're throwing out, but the skill position players for Tampa are just as good or better than the Giants' skill position players. And I'd rather have Fitzmagic than Eli.
But here's the thing, and I'll make Tim's case for him. Tampa's a bad team.
So are
the
the
Giants
Giants.
are a good team that have had really bad luck.
I don't know.
I'm taking the Buccaneers in this game.
Whoa.
I got what I needed out of the Giants. They played the game I thought they would. I think more importantly for me, this is a long road trip on a short week. I know the Giants are playing at home. That's a long trip to come home on a short week. And, the Giants got their win. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. They're not going to have just one win. They feel pretty confident. Tampa is a team that's hungry and upset with the way they played. I think it's a bad spot for the Giants. I think it's a good spot for Tampa Bay. So I'm going to play them.
You have to think that there has to be some sort of positive regression for this Buccaneers offense, too. Like, it's not like they're not gaining yardage. It's not like the Giants have the 25th worst pass defense in the league. Like, Tampa's not going to be able to throw all over them, and the Giants are going to keep them out of the end zone? That's not going to happen.
This is a game, though, I'll be keeping my eyes wide open about wind and weather, because if it's windy in the Meadowlands, you want nothing to do with Fitzpatrick.
Do you want anything to do with Eli?
Yeah, because he's played his whole career there. He knows how to play in the wind at the Meadowlands. And Fitzpatrick, who played there for 2 years and struggled there as the quarterback of my team, I know. I want nothing to do with I'll stick with the Buccaneers, but it's a no play if it's windy or wet there. And I think the under is the way to play the game if the weather is at all inclement.
I don't think that the weather affects Fitzmagic at all, because we've seen these kids. It's not like before when he played for the Jets. He was playing in Buffalo, just as windy, if not more windy, and he's either going to have a good game or a bad game. That's it. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter anything. It's good or it's horrible. That's the Fitzmagic scale.
Well, I see it slightly differently, and I'll take Tampa with a little trepidation, because my gut wants to take the Giants, but my brain tells me to take the Buccaneers.
So you're giving yourself outs on this one?
No, just the Bucs are the pick, and that's the way we're going to play.
You're going to claim I knew when either team wins, and then search for credit?
No, I'm not.
All right. Tennessee and Indy, the last of the early games. -2 is the spread for the Colts. Seems low, doesn't it? 48.5 is the over-under, which seems like a decent total, but like, is everyone just riding Tennessee because they beat the Patriots at home last week? Because I'll take Indy.
I will say this.
You don't need to say that. You can just say what you say.
When Tennessee lost to Baltimore, it was a very polarizing loss, 21-0. The 11 sacks got a lot of attention. Since then, they've been perfect against the number and have won outright as dogs in a few
in 2 games
cases, and have played good teams.
Almost beat the Chargers.
Yeah, that's what they covered that game. The Chargers, Dallas, so teams that are really good, and I think we even said they were sort of becoming underrated from a line perspective. Talking about all those games, after beating the Patriots, I feel like they're now overrated again from a point spread perspective, and it makes me want to take Indianapolis. And I don't have the numbers on this, but I'd love to know.
Just mix them up.
I'll tell you, there's an ugly trend out there, and that's teams after they beat the Patriots do not fare well the next week. I'll bank on that.
Did the Lions win? Yeah, the Lions went to Dallas and either won by 2 or lost by 2.
They lost.
They didn't cover.
They did cover.
Oh,
they covered, but they lost.
I'm just
to a terrible, at the time, terrible Dallas team.
Listen, I'll stand by that.
Okay.
I'll stand by teams with their big midseason wins versus the Patriots don't get done the next week. Incredible stuff happening in Indy.
Luck hasn't been sacked in 4 weeks.
There haven't been sacks. That's got to change with the interior line of the Les Titans. But
Indy's getting healthier on the offensive line,
and this is an exciting game. The winner of this game will feel that they can maybe catch Houston, and the winner of this game will probably feel good about potential wild card chances. Well, the loser of this game is in big trouble. So maybe my favorite NFL contest stakes-wise at 1 o'clock.
It's funny. It'll probably be one of the least watched of all the early games, too.
Of course.
Just Tennessee at Indy.
And Dallas, Atlanta sounds like a Fox game.
Yeah.
I cannot have Tennessee in the playoffs. I have the great fear that round 2 will be Titans going into Kansas City.
Yeah, and they'll keep the ball for an 11-minute, 19-play drive, and boom!
And Tim will proclaim that Casey is free money again, and then they'll just lose when Mariota throws to himself.
The only goal in the AFC for me is to ensure that the Patriots don't get to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are the strongest bulwark against that. And the Titans just seem like the exact team like last year is going to just destroy everything. I look at this game, and I actually don't have a whole lot to say because what I was going to say has been said. This is actually the Titans' biggest game of the year, and I don't think they know it yet. And they won't be prepared enough. I think I'm always a little sketchy to play Indy because I watch the Jets rip them apart. And any team that the Jets do that to makes me a little bit nervous. But at home, not even getting the full 3. The Colts are as good as the Titans, I think. I'll take the better quarterback. I'll take the better skill position players, and I will take the Colts.
And you're on the Colts too, Geoff?
Yeah, I don't love it. I think it could be a really close game. But like I said, I kind of now just feel like the public is Tennessee from being underrated for a nice little run against the number is now like instantly back to being – I don't know if they ever were overrated, but as of Monday morning's point spreads, they're overrated on the spread.
The Titans are 6-3 against the number this year, which is really surprising.
Yeah. This should be listen, buckle up on this game. Like the amount of fun stuff that's going to happen here. Both these coaches aren't afraid to pull out the fourth downs, the fakes. This should be a real good one.
Your Los Angeles Chargers, Geoff, are back at home for the first time in like 10 decades or something close to that.
What is home, Pat?
Taking on the Denver Broncos, coming off a bye week. 46.5 is the point total. The floor is yours, sir, because I feel like Denver might cover this number.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair number.
The Chargers are playing on fumes right now, it feels like. Like they're just winning normally they would lose one of these stupid games, and they haven't. I feel like that's coming for them.
But I don't know what you mean playing on fumes.
Yeah, see, now he's just trying to trigger you. Do not take that
no,
bait.
I listen, Oakland is deplorable. A good team probably gets a 10-14-0 lead that game, and the Chargers have to sort of swim upstream the whole game.
And it doesn't happen. And there was opportunity for Oakland to come back in that game. What did Oakland do? Just do stupid Oakland things and take themselves out of it. But like even against Seattle, like I was stunned Seattle didn't end up converting on the last play of the game to tie it and send it to overtime.
No, they still would have had to go for 2.
I get that. But if they got the touchdown, they would have got the 2. Let's be real here. And then Like
The
these are
Titan
all
game?
these
Sure.
are all
We're
the types
defending every blade of grass.
These are all historically the games the Chargers
Yeah.
just lose really stupid.
And we're winning them.
And they're winning them
because
all.
it's a different team.
It's gonna flip back.
No, because we're not making those dumb mistakes
It's gonna
anymore.
flip.
We're
back.
not.
Your coach is awful. You're a bad coach.
That's fine.
You don't have your kicking situation solved
okay.
yet.
Guess what?
What?
What did they start 0-4 last year?
Yep.
And they finished 9 and 7. 9 and 7. So 16 and 3. They're 16 and 5 since that 0-4 start last year.
Okay.
With the worst coach, without a home game, without a kicker, anything you throw will go through. And we're going through all of it, man.
Except the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's the one spot. But don't worry. We are the only. Do you know that there's one team? There's two teams in the American Football Conference that control their own destiny to the 1 seed, and it ain't the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it ain't the New England Patriots.
It's the Denver Broncos and the Oakland Raiders.
That being said, I do see the Chargers maybe winning like a 27-21 game. So maybe that is within the number. Denver, for all their flaws, Pat, and like Vance Joseph can't win on the road for nothing.
Well, this is also an interesting combination here with Anthony Lynn taking on Vance Joseph, who's also quite terrible.
Sure, but Anthony Lynn's got horses. Denver doesn't lose games by a lot of points. They've kind of proven. I don't think there's many losses by more than a touchdown on their schedule all year. And for as bad and as turnover prone as Keenum is, I actually really like him in the backdoor potential, like quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
To cover, not just as the apple of your eye.
Sure. But I just mean, like, yes, that backdoor drive can end with an interception, sure. But at least he's, like, trying to make something happen for you, unlike Osweiler, who would, like, throw a check down on, like, 3rd and 16.
Or just throw it to the ground.
Yeah, like your boy Carr. I think this one's going to be like a push or right on the number.
Do you think it gets a 7.5?
No. And I got to say this, Dev, because you know how bad we have been in the past without Perryman. So that'll be a big blow, and we got to internally sort of find
And Denver
way.
getting Royce Freeman back, too. I can just
but
see
Denver,
they're going to try to run as much as possible.
Denver's had some huge O-line injuries, and because they're bad, people don't talk about. But they lost a fantastic center in Parodies. I might be pronouncing his name wrong.
He's done for the year.
Yeah, and I'll say, and on another thing, Pouncey might be the best. Who's been a better free agent signing?
I
than
saw you
Marquise
tweet that
Pouncey?
out, and I was like,
think about it.
You could be
yeah,
right.
I'm forgetting about other free agent signings. I can remember Kirk Cousins, but who has there been? Because Pouncey's been amazing. The pressures in Philip face isn't there. Pouncey's like getting 5-star grades in almost 80% of the games from Pro Football Focus.
Well, he probably attempted to murder all of them.
Well,
Said
he's
he
the
was
bad
going
apple
to.
that locker room needs because there's too many good guys.
So he's the guy? He's the one offsetting all the goodness in the Chargers
Well,
locker
there's
room?
a lot of like good guys in there, so it's not bad. We can handle one bad apple, and we got such great leaders. But who has been a better free agent signing? I know I'm just bringing that up, but
I can't really think of one. Tim would tell you Isaiah Crowell.
No, I would not say that. I'm trying to think myself.
like I can't even remember who signed anywhere, to be honest.
I mean, the Jets signing Teddy Bridgewater was one of the savviest moves because they got
yeah.
picks for him.
I will give them that. Back to the game. I think this is going to be right on the number.
Well, I'm going to write you down as Los Angeles
Yeah.
Chargers because we've never done the show where you haven't picked the Chargers.
I know. And the only game I said where if it wasn't me, I wouldn't be picking them was that Titan game.
Yeah.
And I was kind of right. And I kind of feel very similar
It's just
about this one. Denver's also off a bye. And because that Bengals team owns that fifth wild card, or that last wild card, Denver still has a pulse. Which is
sad.
crazy. But anyone with a pulse is sort of feeling like that wild card is still theirs. Exciting today, Joey practiced with pads.
He's not going to play this week.
Listen, if my grandpa owned the team, he wouldn't play this week. He'd play in a snap count, passing down situation next week, and we'd go full unleash the hounds for the Steelers. That's if my grandpa owned the team, how I would play it.
Okay, I will be taking Denver here. Tim, who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to take Denver too, only because I have seen the Broncos twice play Kansas City as tight as anyone has all season, and that's that deserves to be recognized and appreciated. I think Denver's defense can still wreck a game. I too, like Pat, am sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop on a weird Chargers game. I think Chargers are going to win the game, So we're going to make them a part of the teaser, but we're going to make the Broncos to cover the number. I don't trust the Chargers in this division game laying that many points against.
Why wouldn't you tease it the other way? Then?
Which side are you teasing?
I'm going to tease the Chargers down because I think they're going to win. I do not see the Broncos winning this football game.
But the Chargers also win. Couldn't it get like out of hand because they are really good?
Well, then that could happen.
Oh, sorry, that's good for the teaser.
I think the Broncos are going to keep it within sort of the way they played the Chiefs both times. Is that it'll be a grappling, tough sort of game where Keenan may make one stupid mistake that ruins it, like against the Chiefs there in Week 4 when he overthrew the wide open receiver for a touchdown to win the game, like something like that. But just I think the Broncos are actually dead at 3-6 because they'd have to win all but like one more game to make the playoffs, and I just don't think they have it in them. But nevertheless, divisional game, Broncos have shown being able to sort of rise to the occasion. And the Chargers have such big games ahead that I think that this is just a game that the Broncos can sort of catch up on them a little bit. And there'll be a ton of Broncos fans there and not that many Chargers fans.
Yeah, I also want to say, I think the only times like the Broncos have lost by more than a touchdown are the games after they play Kansas City like really hard and tough.
Oh.
So they've kind of, they don't lose by many, it seems. And I think that Jet game was the week after the Chief Monday Nighter, if memory serves me.
I don't really remember. Tim, what week was that?
Correct.
To look it up. Yeah, I think he's right, though.
All right, it's not worth looking up. So Denver for Cust and I, the Chargers for the coin, and Mr. Jeffrey. Oakland at Arizona. This line has now moved to 5 for Arizona. Ugh. It's a lot of points to be given Arizona, 40.5. I shall not be duped by Oakland again, though. I'll just take Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, me and you are really on the same thing.
I can't
under a touchdown, as much as it pains me, and I don't think I actually bet money on Arizona laying these types of points.
You know what? Arizona looked frisky last week.
Arizona is at least like playing for the development of the quarterback.
And they seem to be galvanizing around Rosen. And hey, I was Garion who was all like up in arms that Byron Leftwich was somehow a better coordinator than Mike McCoy, but they started using David Johnson in the passing game again. Who thought that would work?
Oakland is just bettable. I mean, the Chargers did, like, for them to not have found a way to cover that game last week tells me everything you need to know, and I don't think it gets better in the subsequent weeks going forward. I
did enjoy when Derek Carr was trying to run the hurry up with time, like, ticking off the clock.
Like 6 seconds,
yeah,
right?
And everyone else was like,
What a guy. He defended that 4th down spike thing.
How? You're like, I didn't know what down it was?
No, he said I'd have gotten sacked.
Then why don't you just throw? If you have time to throw it to the ground, just Kareem skyhook it up into the end zone. Who cares?
Like Carson Wentz did like a crazy thing.
Yeah, you're on 4th down. What's the difference?
Maybe not. Maybe someone else. I don't remember.
So the coin likes Oakland. Tim, do you like Oakland?
So while I was thinking about this game earlier today, I thought, listen, the Cardinals, they're not that good. How could I lay 5 points with them? And then it occurred to me, why would I give you a free game when you're going to take the Cardinals and the Cardinals are going to cover? What's wrong with me? I'm going to take the Cardinals, lay the 5, and be done with it.
Because the Cardinals are also so bad.
So are you at the point of the season where you're just boxing my picks?
Well, it's just like you made this point, I think, last week or the week before. It's like if you just didn't pick the Raiders every week, how many game lead would you have?
That's true.
And it was a very, very good point. And if I'm going to give games away, I'm sure, as it goes on, but I don't need to like gift wrap one for you for taking the Oakland Raiders on the road for no reason. So now I'm not taking the Raiders, and we'll just take the Cards and be done with it.
This game could also like get out of hand. Just it's one of those situations where the Cardinals like can't beat up on anybody, and it's like a home game, and they do have some star quality players at some skill positions or high profile players where this is like the opportunity to like win like a fun home game.
Yeah, get a win. Put a win on the board for your fans. Oakland ain't going nowhere. Next game, Philadelphia at New Orleans. Last of the early slate. This was deflexed. How long ago was this taken out of primetime?
This was never in primetime.
I thought it was flexed out.
No.
Yeah. Well, that video I sent off is pretty stupid then.
No, the game that was flexed out of Sunday night was Jaguars-Steelers, was supposed to be the Sunday night.
Ah, yes, that's correct. So this is the highest point total game of the early slate, 56. -9 is the spread with New Orleans. And I started thinking about this one, and I don't know how I don't take New Orleans. Maybe I'm just scorned from Philly last week and just watching them not stop anything on the Dallas offense. I don't know how they're going to stop New Orleans' offense back at home. So now we're into a situation where Wentz needs to keep up on the scoreboard for like a backdoor cover, and that's not happening with New Orleans. They didn't cover week 1 when they lost to Tampa. They didn't cover week 2 on that weird Callaway deep touchdown for the Browns, which they ended up winning that game but not covering. They covered every other game since. Like, they don't get backdoored. And this Philly defense is atrocious right now. And they can't run the ball, so they can't even slow the game down. So New Orleans -9, I'm in.
Okay, I'm going to make the case for New Orleans, for Philly first.
Okay.
I'm not making the pick.
So you're not picking Philly.
No, I'm not there yet. The corner injuries really concern me
As they should.
for Philly. It does seem like a lot of points, though, for a quarterback of Wentz's capabilities, and we've seen a lot this year, teams that get embarrassed in prime time, get a bit of an inflated number. Part of me also thinks that we may have, in trying to get so fancy and picking the Saints like trap spot, we all sort of jumped on the Bengals last week, at least at this table.
Yeah.
Although we said like we're overthinking it, and I think we all sort of acknowledged it, other than Tim, that we're probably overthinking it. Because Saturday nights, Tim is still very confident. This could be the trap spot in that they have a big division game on Thanksgiving. I think they're that Thursday nighter. No?
No, they play the Giants at home next Sunday afternoon.
No, they don't. They've already played the Giants. So it's Atlanta. It's Atlanta at New Orleans.
Yeah, the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles are. Sorry, were you talking about the Eagles or the Saints, Jeff?
The Saints.
I'm sorry. Yes, the Saints are hosting the Falcons. Yeah, the Giants and
sorry.
Eagles.
You were correct,
Sunday.
Jeff.
Okay, sorry.
They're both right.
You're not both right because you told him he was wrong when he was right.
I thought he was talking about
I want some credit because you weren't talking about what I was talking about. I'm right.
No,
Wait, well, he wasn't.
The Saints have a Thursday nighter against, even though they're the better team, it's still a big rivalry game. For all the fanciness, Carolina, the rivalry is New Orleans.
Remind me to take the Saints in that game, regardless of what happens.
Saints
this
are
week.
an 11-point favorite right now in that game.
Early, okay, fun.
Just remind me to take the Saints.
Sure. So that's why listen. As we record this now, you're right to pick Philly. You're kind of just banking on that backdoor. Just seems like too many points. Give me the Eagles plus all the points. I'll take the Eagles with all those points.
The coin is on board with me. The coin likes the Saints. Tim, who do you like?
I'm taking my stand. I like the Eagles to win the game outright. I think that we are underappreciating the defending champs who are still really, really, really good. This game, to me, when I thought about it, I was like, this reminds me of week 1 against the Buccaneers, when the whole world, including myself, including Geoff,
Not me.
couldn't wait to bet the Saints because it seemed make all the sense in the world the Saints would roll that game, and they got beaten. This is a game where if you believe, as I still do, the Eagles are a team with talent enough to win the Super Bowl, will go into a spot when the whole world's against them. Doug Peterson will pull out all the tricks out of his bag. The Saints having a great swagger, feeling fantastic and justifiably so about themselves, having beaten down some good teams. This is where a true champion rears back and punches themselves off the ropes. The Eagles are in a desperate spot. They've got to have this game. No one believes in them. I think they come out swinging. They take a lead early. The Saints get panicky. I don't think that Breeze plays a great game here. I think that the Eagles win the game on the field. I think that'll be what all the Sunday night football coverage will be about the pregame, and then the Monday morning talk about is how could we have written off the Eagles? Look at all the talent on this team that just won a Super Bowl. How did we ever make them nearly double-digit underdogs in a football game? I think Wentz is still capable of tremendous things. I think that Tate, with an extra week in the offense, helps fast track. I think that the Eagles can win it close. The Eagles can win it big. They can win it a tight or low-scoring game, a high-scoring game. I'm taking my stand with the champs. If I go down, I go down. I'm all in with the Eagles. Give me Philadelphia, and we're going to tease them up, obviously.
Yeah, 15.5 on the teaser for you. Golden Tate played 29% of the snaps last week. Like, how realistically, what is he playing this week?
They have to play him a ton.
Well, you can't have him on the field if he doesn't know the plays.
The season's on the line. You don't have the luxury of time to wait.
They could score 30 in this game and not cover. That's what I worry about because their defense is bad right now.
Well, again, you find how many people can you find that are going to back Philly in this game?
I'm sure a ton. People like to go and back the Super Bowl champions. Like, people aren't thinking dissimilar to you.
How many 2-point conversions are going to be attempted in this game?
Oh. If you set the over-under of 1.5, what would you take?
Over.
Over, for sure?
Because the team that scores first might do it.
This is true.
And then that sets the stage for like 4 more.
Listen, if Philly was healthy, I'd like Filthy. I think this Lane Johnson injury is
Big,
hurting
and
them
Darby
a lot.
on the back end
Is a
It's
lot
of
more
points,
impactful
though.
than people think. They cannot run the ball. That's something that you need to do to slow the Saints down. Now, are the Saints going to score on every possession? No, of course they're not, because that's crazy. But I just look at it and I just don't know where Philly makes up the points. They're going to need to onside kick or generate some sort of weird turnover, and I just don't see it happening.
Do it to them what the Buccaneers did. Just outscore them. Go up and down the field with them. Philly does have the talent to do that.
Just
Score 48 if they score 41.
That was week 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's week 1, but it's in the dome.
He's
The Eagles are a much
still
better
bitter because it knocked you two out of
Doesn't mean anything.
team. Eagles are a
eliminator.
much better team.
It did, but I'd be out by now. And I'd have
Yeah,
lost.
I
on
was
the
out week 3.
I'd have
so
lost
it
on
didn't
that
matter.
Vikings.
Yeah,
Bill.
well,
Like,
I know
hey.
that if I can get on a streak, I can go all the way because I've gone all the way before.
Yeah, but you've been eliminated week 1 2 years in a row.
Yes.
And as we concluded, you won $0 on your Perfect Survivor season.
Well, but I got a lot of credit for it.
You didn't. Everyone kind of mocks you for doing it now. It's become a running joke because you didn't win any money on it.
Whatever. Eagles are the play. I just have the deep recesses of my gut tell me this is a Philly game. The champs show up and they shock the world.
So I've brought up when we were hanging out with Tim on Saturday a couple times.
Okay, I have one big note from that night.
Okay, well, I don't take many notes at all, but I've got one thing double underlined, so it's probably the exact same.
Is it Alexa?
Yes. Well, I wrote Siri, but I guess we meant the exact same.
Yeah,
thing.
it was a Google product, so
Yeah.
it was Alexa, yes.
Tim was so. You guys asked Alexa's score of
The
a
Raptors game.
Raptor
No, the
game
Boston-
or the
Boston
Clemson
College.
game.
It was it was Alexa, what's the score of the Boston College game? The score is Boston College, da-da-da, like right away.
And Tim was literally like he was encountered by an alien. He was so shook, I think is the word the kids use these days. Shook that this life form was giving him accurate information. Technically, you could tell he was like bothered by
He was freaked. He was absolutely rattled by
a
Alexa.
technological advancement. He was bothered.
Now, on this show, we've once said that Siri is Tim's best friend. It could turn out that Alexa is Tim's best friend if Tim would go down the route of getting Alexa and Google Home.
I have never seen one before. I've never seen
Where
it
do you
used.
live that you've never seen one of these before?
And I found it very terrifying that this non-sentient machine just knew automatically some information. I wasn't prepared for it. I just didn't expect it, and I felt like this
Violated. He felt raped.
He felt
Like,
he
this
was
is-
triggered. He was very much triggered.
No, I don't know about triggered. Like
Ale-
shook.
Alexa
Shook.
is not allowed in Tim's safe space.
like all the fears I have about like a dystopian future, like Big Brother in 1984 and a Brave New World, like Alexa sort of like represents that thin end of the wedge for me, where like AI becomes too. It just I saw it. I saw how quickly it answered the question, and I was like, oh dear God, that is frightening. And yeah, I was, as the kids say, shook. Alexa's bad. It shouldn't exist.
The funny thing
But
is,
you were all big on Watson when it was on Jeopardy,
No, I wasn't.
and you love Deep Blue.
Well, I mean, anyone can play chess.
So if a computer can play chess, it can't tell you the fucking score of an
He just
NCAA
knew
football
it.
game?
Your friend leaned over, asked it, it got an answer back immediately, and I found that interaction to be quite chilling.
So
And
you were more prepared to wait for the newspaper the next
I'm
day,
used to
or at least the
making-
afternoon
a couple
edition
things.
the next day,
He,
because it was
like,
too late of a
but
game
he-
to be in the paper
he
the next
claims
day.
to be so foreign about it, but he watches every big game. He watches all the big like network shows. So
And, this
he
is
would
the-
see
and he
the
watches commercials. He
That's my
loves
point.
commercials.
So like I don't know how he, like when he interacts with humans, these things like have never existed. When he has been desensitized to them through corporate advertising.
That's all fair, but when you see it in the flesh for the first time, you don't know how you'll react. And I, without even realizing, I was just, I physically like moved backwards from it. I was like afraid of it.
But isn't it like, I don't know, hypothetically, you got your hands dirty, you're like cooking, and you want like how many?
Well, Tim doesn't get his hands dirty when he cooks because he just puts everything in the microwave.
Like, how many tablespoons of X do I need now? Like, because you forget. And
you just
don't
ask
need
Alexa. It tells you.
You don't need to go through a book. You don't need to scroll your phone. You just ask the question.
Tim also forgets to use Google a lot of the time. Like, we've been doing this running thing through we all have iPhones, so we have an iMessage
Group
chat going. But you can send like the different like fonts, or send stuff upside down, or make fireworks go off when you send a message. And he was like triggered for like a good week because that's all we were doing. We're sending him these types of messages. And he's like, I don't know how to do this. I checked my settings. It doesn't tell me. I was like, please tell me how to make all of like the bubbles come up on the screen when you do it. And he didn't type that into Google at any point. He just was furious and was asking us. So he can't even remember to Google things, let alone ask Alexa things.
I was maybe, and this is just part of my being of a generation where I was of the last generation where I was taught.
We're both older than you fucktard.
I was taught to look things up for myself and depend on my own brain to find answers, and that like. It's like doing a crossword puzzle and like going to Google to find an answer. That's cheating. My brain is trained to like just depend on what I know and how I can figure things out. And so I'm just
as it turns out, you're really bad at figuring things out.
My default is not just to go to Google, which is like a hack, and then get all your answers. Like I don't know. I'm like when I was going to school, I never went to the digital resources. I went to the library. I took the book off the shelf. I read the actual book. I took physical notes by hand in my notebooks. That's the way I was trained to research and figure things out. And so I'm not used to just going to a digital resource or a search engine and getting all this stuff. I know I could.
But you don't know that you can though. Because you would, if you remembered, you would do it. And don't pass it off like you're some part of a generation that uses fucking books. You're younger than both of us, and that's not a part of our generation. So cut the absolute shit on that.
It is actually a part of our generation.
No, it's not. It's just you refuse to do it.
It's what I am used to, and it's the way.
So you refuse to change to the times. You just preferred to live like it was 25 years ago.
Not at all, but just my default setting is to not look at Google right away.
Okay, so to not look at it right away, what happens then a week later when you're still asking the question? It just hasn't occurred to you to do it.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that that's not true, but I'm just saying my natural reaction isn't to Google these things. Things are being made too easy. And like there's a virtue in actually learning to figure out things for yourself by reading up on it.
I don't think he's wrong, but that's different than still
instead of having everything
just
handed to you, like hipster millennials today, or handed everything to them and never have to, sweat by the brow, to actually work and figure out, like look at an encyclopedia to figure out something.
See, Cust lives the hipster lifestyle. That's classic hipster, and Tim doesn't seem to realize that, because what do hipsters do? They like stuff that's out of style and out of date and stuff that's useless to do and very non-efficient. That's what Tim's doing with almost everything he does.
No
he lives a hipster lifestyle.
He'll probably argue this vehemently, but in 2018, anyone like sitting down in their chaise lounge opening an encyclopedia is an elitist.
Elitist or a moron who can't figure out how to use their phone.
Well, I don't think it's elitist.
It's super elitist. Who the hell would own encyclopedias? Why would you ever spend the money on it? It makes no sense. It's free on the internet.
My parents did.
How long have they had them?
Well, it was a long time ago, and I was like in grade school.
So they have the encyclopedias. Yeah. They're not actively searching out new encyclopedias.
No, and I don't.
It's not like Mr. Britannica's coming to your door being like, "Sir, do you need some mahogany encyclopedias?" And Tim is like, "Well, come on in. I'll get up some scones and tea."
Although encyclopedias are still very useful online, like the actual, like the Oxford English, there are various Encyclopedia Britannica, the OED, like which is basically an encyclopedia for all intents and purposes. I still have like what you would have found in the book, but just in digital form. Those are still useful. I mean,
that's
I have
what
the
I
old
plagiarized to
pass college.
Oh no, this is more like grade school. By college, I wasn't that like.
Anyway, my default is not just to immediately run to Google and have things handed to me like millennials today. I guess I'm just used to not having things. You're used to
not knowing things, and you're very comfortable with that. Although you bitch and complain that you don't know about it, and then and then instead of using Google, you beg us to tell you. That's your method instead of using Google.
I actually am comfortable with not knowing.
You're
something
not, because
right
you
away.
sit there and whine like a little bitch about how you
And
don't know. And all you could have done is Google. You're like, no, you got to tell me. Why won't this work? I'm trying it on my phone. Obviously, there's something wrong with my phone. Remember when we convinced you that you couldn't change the name of the text group because your particular version of the phone couldn't do it?
Yes, I did not expect for you all to lie to me like that. You're right. I plead guilty. I did not expect my friends to be telling me out and out lies, and then just keep reinforcing those lies. You're right. I trusted you guys.
We even photoshopped up a thing of our settings versus his settings and where the button would be, and he got very triggered. And again, this is something that went on for like a good 10 days that could have been solved in less than 10 seconds if you just used Siri, Googled it, or used Alexa.
But it's like
But he's too afraid of Alexa.
It's like basic.
It's coming to steal his. Do you let pictures be taken of you? Like, is this even a real picture? Like, it looks like you think someone's stealing your soul in this picture.
It's basic settings to change the chat.
It's in the actual text. You text the group, and at the top, you just click on it and change the name. That's
you have
it.
to touch that little I button. That's what I didn't realize. I kept going into like the message settings in the iPhone. That's where I thought you could do it. Because that's where they told me you could do it.
That's where you used to assume everything can be changed in the settings, although nothing can really be changed in the settings.
Okay. I plead guilty.
Yeah, so just start using Google. You can actually go use Amazon or Walmart.com right now to go purchase Monopoly Millennial.
So the future's going to trigger this guy even more.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be, I mean, if he was handy, which he's not, he'd dig a ditch and just go live in that and just get away from the world. Live in a little hut.
Yeah, but I mean, I've already made peace with the fact that the world I wish to live in and the world that I'm going to encounter are not going to be the same thing. And once you accept that you're just a man out of time, that's just how it is.
Do you tell people that you live non-linearly?
No, but some of us will cleave to the old ways longer than we should because that's our sort of default character. Not different people have different characters. And to try to force people to have different characters to fit with some preconceived notion of what should be up and coming does them a disservice. There's always value to the people who look backwards and say, well, but there was something valuable about we had before.
You know what was great? The Sears Wish Book catalog. I love
Wish Book.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
That to me was a part of Christmas time growing up when I was young, looking at the Wish Book and picking this
you know
out.
what? You're not a fucking child anymore.
No, I'm not, and I wouldn't use it now. But I feel bad for the kids who are like 8 and 9 now, or will be 8 and 9.
So
in the future.
you feel bad for anyone that didn't experience life exactly how you experienced it.
No,
is what you're
but
saying.
I know it was enjoyable, and that enjoyable experience will not be there.
It was a book of toys, of course.
Yeah, but it's no different than being on your iPad and scrolling through Amazon and a list of toys. Anyway, I want that one and that one and that one. And then all I have to do is just touch it, and then it comes. What is there something that's different about that? Please tell me.
It was exciting when the book arrived at the house, and then you got to leaf page by page by page through it, and you had to work for it. Once again, it wasn't just handed to you by 2 clicks of a mouse. It was just sent to your door. No, but you had to put in the labor of going through all the pages and figuring out what you wanted and what you didn't. And you had to pick and choose. Again, there's some character building virtue in putting a little bit of effort into searching and finding, rather than having everything just handed to you on a silver platter. I think it makes makes for better character. At least in my experience, it did.
This is all just rhetoric from someone who can't figure out how to use their phone.
No, see, it's not, though.
It is, because you're bad at technology. If you were good with technology, you would love all of this stuff.
I've never said I was great with technology.
You did. You said that you're an early adopter of technology and that you're great at technology. Your quote.
I don't think I ever said I was great with technology. I don't think I've ever. I think I'm a little too self-aware to have said that.
Oh, yes. I mean, if there's one thing you're big on, it's self-awareness. Just like this Monopoly Millennial game. Are you in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't buy any properties because they're not allowed, because millennials don't buy properties.
Well, no, it's because the prices, you don't get enough money and the prices are too expensive.
I mean, you don't build up houses or hotels, because if it's not Airbnb or something, you're not interested in it, because God forbid you stay in a hotel like a grown-up. Or, what else? There's no, chance and community chess would both be too triggering, because, oh no, there could be a chance of getting a bad question.
Although free parking was not changed to a safe space, though. I feel like they really missed the boat on that.
They did miss the boat on that. Yeah.
Although, again, you're just a sucker who stays in the hotels. Why wouldn't you go to an Airbnb? We all know that Airbnbs are better experiences.
Oh no, I like hotels. I like a hotel room. I like the concierge. I like the walking into the lounge, there being a restaurant attached to it. The room that's on its like
What
the room
did
I'm
you
used
ask
to.
the concierge?
Nothing. He asked him, like, where do I buy cigs?
No, that's not true. If I'm in a different city, I ask all kinds of questions. Where can I find this? Where can I find that? Where's a good place to get this? Where's a good place to get that? Like, I ask advice. 100%. Call for a wake-up call, for example. I like to call a concierge for that. Like, lots of stuff. Like, I actually think there's value in that. I also don't like living in someone else's house, which is what an Airbnb is. I mean, I understand there are lots of benefits of it. I'm not anti-Airbnb. By any means.
You just said that adults don't use Airbnb. I would figure that only adults use Airbnb because it
to
requires
run
a
away
credit
from
card number.
To run away from hotels at all times just to use Airbnb, I think there was something not grown up about that. I mean,
how about this? It's more fiscally responsible to go Airbnb because it's most of the time, 95% of the time, cheaper. So what you're saying is that being fiscally responsible is not an adult move.
There are some times the Airbnb makes the most sense, but there are other times where
the majority of the time Airbnb makes the most sense. Plus, you get to drop in the middle of a section of the city that you can go choose, and then you get to experience the culture of that city a lot more than just going to some Best Western.
Well, I wasn't talking about a Best Western. I was saying like a Four Seasons.
When was the last time you stayed at a Four Seasons?
I've never actually stayed at.
You only stay at like oh my God. We went to the Final Four.
No, let's not tell this story.
We went to the Final Four in 2010 or 2011, one of the two. It was in Charlotte. So we did a trip. We went down, and then we rented a car. So we went to the first 2 days of the tournament in Charlotte. We drove down to Myrtle Beach and played golf. And then we had one extra day where we had to go drive back to Charlotte because we were flying out of Charlotte. So everything was taken care of on the trip. I booked some of the hotels. A friend got the tickets. Someone else booked the car. The one thing Tim had to do was book us a hotel on the last night. And was it a Comfort Inn? A Days Inn?
Listen, I was instructed to find a hotel next to the airport, which is what I did.
Now, he could have got us a hotel at the airport, like a decent hotel. There's 4 of us splitting a room. Like, we could have paid up a little bit for a place that... He got us this place like 10 to 15, like 2 exits before the airport in... I want to say it was a dangerous area. It was
when
not.
When I called them, they said it was near the airport.
And it wasn't particularly near the airport, so that wasn't all that great. There was no shuttle. We couldn't drop off the car, go back to the hotel, and take a shuttle. We had to wait and drive in the morning to go to the airport and drop off the car. This place, no front window. You could smoke in the rooms. And Bates Motel is tough, but there was a big light outside that just shined right through our front the entire night, and no one could sleep except for Tim, who just snored the entire time, so no one else could sleep in it either. But like, it was the most legit terrifying place I've ever stayed in my life. And Tim, would you say any differently?
I mean, if I could go back, I would certainly not pick that hotel. That there was a lot of mistakes made. Picking a hotel that didn't have curtains in the windows, we got in there. It was a dead ringer giveaway. That was a bad idea to stay there. But listen, went on Google because that's what you told me to do, and I Googled airports near Charlotte.
He went to the first place that came up. Didn't
Near
do any
Charlotte
comparison
Hotel,
shopping.
And the first link was there that said hotel near. So I clicked it, got on my phone, called them, said, "You guys have availability?"
Called them too.
Are you near? Well, this was like 2011.
You can still book online in 2011.
Well, I didn't. And so I called them and said, "You're near the airport." Yes. What's the rate? The rate was pretty cheap. So I said, "Yeah, let's do it up." And I booked it and never gave it a second thought. And the heat I took for that was ridiculous. Like, okay, I made a bad call, but I've got to stay here too. It's not like, ha, 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 you guys all have to experience this bad hotel while I, hang out at, the Four Seasons.
He's never been to the Four Seasons.
I've been into Four Seasons, but I've never actually stayed in the room there.
You're a fan of Four Seasons?
I mean, I have always had this fantasy of being wealthy enough to just live in a hotel. Like, not even have an apartment. Just live in a hotel. I think because, you'd have the pool, you'd have the steam room, you'd have the gym.
Nice to live in a luxury hotel.
A-Rap lived at One King West for a year and a half.
Like, your bed sheets would be changed every day. You'd get fresh towels every day. You never have to spend a dime on shampoos or soaps because they give you them for free, which is another reason I prefer hotels to Airbnbs, because you can stock up on that stuff when you're at a hotel.
I like that you're there for the free swag. It's not like you walk into an Airbnb and they don't have like legit Head and Shoulders waiting for you.
Yeah, but you can't take it home with you.
I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could.
I stock up. So anyway.
So you're incapable of doing your own laundry. You're incapable of cooking. You're incapable of basically doing anything around the house. So you need people to go do it for
and
you.
We're supposed to assume he returns home with like 8 bars of soap.
Apparently
when I came back from the Super Bowl in Minneapolis,
you just move it close to you and be comfortable.
No, I was just I was chaise lounging.
All right, we have the other games to get to. So before we get back to the 2 primetime games, I want to let you in on a word from our new sponsor.
We got baby spare ribs, roast beef, hot links, and more to give. Cube steaks, hot dogs, real tips, ooh, pork chops, turkey wings, and chicken wings too. Give me a wave if you like catfish. Jump up if it's your favorite dish. Tommy likes ribs and chicken wings. If you like you, let me hear you scream. Wave for catfish. Scream for ribs.
Minnesota at Chicago. Chicago 2.5-point favorites at home. 45 is the game total. Minnesota coming off the bye, getting healthy on defense at exactly the right time. Stefan Diggs should be back, and the Bears coming off another impressive performance. Run and train on the Lions, who may or may not be good. Beat the Bills the week before that. They're leading this division. Tim, I'll go to you first. Is Chicago going to win the AFC North or NFC North?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they have a lead with very few games left to go. That's big. And they get the test here in primetime at home to by no means slam the door, but really give themselves like a 70 to 80% chance to win the division if they take the game here. And yet Vegas continues to be a slave to the Minnesota Vikings. They refuse to give the Bears the full number, even though the Bears have acquitted themselves quite well the last few weeks. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to struggle against this Bears defense. He gets so many balls swatted at the line. Mac, we saw last week, again, right back to his old tricks of sacking quarterbacks and destroying things. I don't see how the Vikings can hold up against the Bears defense. Just as long as Trubisky doesn't throw him out of it, I don't think the Vikings have the horses to beat him. I think the Bears have better talent probably on both sides of the ball. If I have to be, I think the Vikings defense is good. Bears defense is better. Vikings offense is good. Bears offense is better. So I just look at, I think, better offense and better defense, and you're making me lay under a touchdown in a divisional game. Under a field goal at home. Boy, I think you got to play the Bears here.
I like the Vikings. I just think the Vikings are better. And now that they're healthy, Everson Griffin back, that made such a huge difference right before the bye, that you can get pressure on the quarterback again. That solves a lot of your defensive woes. And getting Stefan Diggs back healthy, Dalvin Cook is now back healthy. They're going to look more like the Vikings team that we thought that we were getting, the team that steamrolled San Francisco week 1 when they still had Jimmy G. I like the spot. I think this is... I just don't think that the Bears run away with this division, so they need to lose somewhere along the line. And I think the Vikings are the best equipped team in this division, not the Packers, to give them the best charge. So I think that Minnesota wins this one.
I agree with a lot of what Tim said. I don't have Tim's confidence. I'll say this, going back to the beginning of the year before they played a game. To me, the Bears had a roster that was as talented as most in the league, and the question mark was how good was the quarterback. The quarterback's good. This roster is fantastic. And, I'm shocked. I was waiting for Tim to bust out the DVOA on this one. Bears are 4th. The Vikings are 14th.
Yep.
I think this is... I'm picking the Bears. I don't love it, but I can make the case they are the team that Tim might actually say they are. Pound for pound, I really like the roster. They don't have many weaknesses. I liked this roster before they made the trade. I thought their front seven was really good. I think they'll win this game.
Okay. Last game of the week. The best game of the week.
Who did that coin like, by the way?
The coin likes Minnesota.
That's too bad.
Monday night, -3.5. The Rams are favored now at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. This game was going to be in Mexico City, but the field was not able to play. Get the bad air of Los Angeles against the bad field in Mexico. They're going to take the bad air 100 times out of 100, apparently. 63 is the game total. Fun fact about these like super high totals, they all go over the number. I believe 9 of the past 10 that have been 58 or above have gone over. So don't expect too much defense in this game. And I guess this is a referendum on who you think the best team is in the league. Like these are teams with great offenses, not great defenses. The special teams is better for Kansas City. No Cooper Kupp. He's finished for the year. Kind of like the Chiefs here with plus 3.5.
It's Tim's Super Bowl.
It is your Super Bowl, Tim.
So now he wants credit for that.
I thought I'd get 2 neutral site games for them this year. I'll only get 1 neutral site game for them after all.
I'll say this. I got to stop saying that.
People know when you're talking. You have a very distinctive voice. And the camera's on you.
I'm not saying that again. When the Chiefs play the Chargers in LA in the last year and a half, there have been a ton of red there. And it doesn't get the attention that it gets because they're the Rams and nothing's wrong with them. Everything's perfect in LA for the Rams. The crowds show up, not just for the teams the Chargers are playing. They show up for the team the Rams are playing. So I think there'll be a ton of Kansas City fans in the stands. The Rams are practicing in Colorado in preparation of the altitude. Now they got to come home where there's all sorts of local situations with the fires.
I was surprised that the line moved so much. I know it goes from neutral site to home game, but it didn't feel like the line should have moved at all.
A little bit. The Rams seem to be happy about the move.
Sure.
And it moved the point. Right?
It moved 2 points. It was, -1 when this game
I would agree blindly. It seems like you're getting a lot of some value with Mahomes. The Rams give up 30 points every single game, it feels like. So why wouldn't Kansas City be able to put the same numbers that the Packers or the Seahawks, for the most part, were able to put up here? The Charger fan in me would love a Ram victory, but I'm going to take the 3.5 with the leading MVP candidate. And the Rams don't win by a lot, really, at all.
They don't love covering. And the Chiefs do love covering, unless it's against Arizona, apparently. But Kansas City for me, Kansas City for Geoff, Kansas City for the coin, Tim. Kansas City for you?
Yeah, if there was a bell, we'd ring it because I think, listen, the Rams defense
Go Rams.
The Rams defense can't close out games. We've seen that week in, week out. The Rams are having trouble covering numbers week in, week out. I mean, the Rams are a very, 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 very good team. But if you're going to give the Chiefs any points, let alone over a field goal, if it's a shootout, I don't think the Rams can beat them. If it's a close game, I think the Rams have a chance. If you like the Rams, I think that Rams and the under is the way to play the game. I don't see a Rams over coming in whatsoever. Whereas Chiefs over, I think it's a play. So I don't mind an in-game teasing the Chiefs to the over or an in-game teasing the Rams to the under if you like the Rams. I like the Chiefs, and the Chiefs will be the last end of the teaser. We'll get them up to
plus 10.
Plus 10.
I like that, actually. Plus 10, getting Kansas City on the teaser. It's hard to see them getting blown out, isn't it?
In a perfect scenario for me would be the Rams are up 10, Kansas City's got the ball, 4 minutes left, and the Rams win by 3.
Yeah.
That would be most ideal. And, yeah, that does seem pretty attractive on the teaser. I'd like to see the Texans win by 10 and Tim not take that half point. Because I think that 7 points could help you. I think it helps you with Philadelphia, and I think it helps you with Washington. 16 has been a false, fake number of importance, it seems, in like this modern NFL.
Well, Tim and I were talking about this, I think it might have been on Sunday's show, but like the key numbers are not the key numbers anymore.
They get blown away quickly.
Just because of weird stuff like missed extra points.
It's like the CFL.
Yeah.
Because there's like singles and safeties can happen like so easily via punts and stuff that key numbers have not the significance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm a mental midget, so the 3 and the 7s are still important.
I think 3 is more important than 7.
Agreed.
To be perfectly honest with you. Like a 3.5 is far more attractive than just a 7.5. So anyway, that's me, and that was the Pat Mayo experience. Get into the super locks of the week. Geoff, you are 7-3, riding a heater 6-7-1 in your past 8 super locks. Who you taking? You're big on Atlanta. Are you going with Atlanta?
Atlanta. I don't really know what other games I was big on. Seattle for the Thursday is tempting, but Atlanta. And your Tampa might have sold me a little bit on Tampa, but Atlanta.
So Atlanta +3, Tampa +1 for myself is what I'm going to lock in. I'm 5-4-1. Tim is also
Atlanta's
-3.
-3.
Sorry. I was going to give you a +3. That would have been even better.
Teased.
Tim, who do you like for a super lock? Detroit?
Taking the city of brotherly love, +9.
Makes
I
sense.
think
He's
they're
got them winning.
I think they're going to win the game outright, so I should probably have them on the teaser. So should be all in with them. Take them as a super.
I thought this was the brotherly love place, but I ain't feeling it. Remember AI's mom? She freaked out. Guess not. Guess no one's remembered that from like 15 years ago.
Shucks. I wanted to make this joke when we were making the game.
What game was it?
It was the Monday Nighter, so it's still the last game. we
Chiefs
talked
and Rams. What about it, Geoff?
Well, I'll tell you what, Pat. You know, if Vince McMahon ran the NFL, this game would be being played in Mexico. Crown Jewel styles.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Would there be run-ins from the Chargers?
That's like for 8% of the audience.
You think 8% of them are wrestling fans?
Was that low or high?
I don't know. Because, like, I liked wrestling in the early 90s and, like, when The Rock and Stone Cold were around, but I don't think I've seen wrestling in 10 years or more. So I don't know who's still with it and who's not. I bet you there are more vintage wrestling fans than, like, current wrestling fans who watch
Yeah,
the show.
I was a vintage wrestling fan.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He was a vintage wrestler.
Yeah, you were the British Bulldog in the 80s when Hasbro made their toys.
All right.
We've upset him.
He wasn't a wrestling fan. Give your
I
head a shake,
was.
pal. Really? When?
Like in the early and mid 90s. That's why I have all those various wrestling dolls and toys.
Which he tells me after I go out and buy them.
What dolls do you have?
Like
said
a ton of those rubber
Hasbro's?
ones. Yeah,
Or
like
the big ones
Kamala and Macho Man Savage and Jake the Snake. Yeah, I have all kinds of them.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on these. I told him I'd pay him for them, too.
You have them now, or they're like at your parents or something?
They're at our country house.
Country.
Elitist. I'm not elitist.
Oh, yeah.
The opera and the country
That's
house.
on Sunday he said that corduroys were the pants of the people.
They are. They're better than blue jeans. And Gentleman's Quarterly agreed with me. They said jeans are out and blue jeans are on the way.
You're an
in.
elitist.
Here he is.
Other than your eating habits, you're incredibly elitist.
No, I mean, I like to think if I like it, it can't be elitist. Because I'm a man of the people.
It's just like what he said. If I like it, it can't be hipster. Or it can't be millennial if I like it. Although everything he likes, very hipster these days. Like, Tim, you would kill to have a nice record player, wouldn't you?
No, I would
Yeah,
not.
you
But I
would.
will say,
Yes, you would.
Today I bought at Starbucks a juniper latte, and it was excellent. And I felt bad about myself while consuming it, but man, it was good.
I don't know what
It
that
tasted
is.
like,
Some hipster
It's
millennial drink that Tim loves.
well,
and
gin
it is
is
now gushing about.
Well, gin is made from juniper berry, so like that type of flavor, like infused into a latte, is very good.
Why not just be a fucking man and dump some gin into your black coffee?
No, gin is reserved only for eggnog at Christmas time.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo
Do
Experience.
we get like holiday rankings next week?
Oh, we might.
Thanksgiving rankings. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. How are we gonna do the show next week? Tim and I were talking about this. Should we just do the show like we normally do on Wednesday night, and just gloss over, just give our quick like, here's who we're taking for the Thanksgiving games? Because we can't do two shows, and it'll be like stupid if like people are watching it on Thanksgiving and like we're breaking down the Thanksgiving games. That's useless.
Yeah, I just think we'd be short and sweet with it, like we try to be with the Thursday.
But we don't.
nighter.
I say that we
just ditch it.
You just say, here's who we're taking. Here's who our picks are.
Oh yeah.
And don't even bother breaking it down.
Well, last year I feel like we did this. I feel like the show got released during like that Charger Cowboy game.
It did.
Yeah.
Because we filmed it on Thursdays. And it took like 80 million years to upload last year at the old studio.
Whatever you
Same
think
time,
is
yeah.
best.
We'll just plow through those, and it'll give more time for Tim's Thanksgiving rankings,
Exactly.
where he's never
Wow.
actually.
So next week's gonna be like a 10-game slate then.
Yeah,
Like
but we'll
buys
make
and
up for it.
Thanksgiving.
Like I thought we were on a good roll here until we got talking about Alexa and Tim being triggered by it. Anyway, that'll do it. Geoff Fienberg. Follow him on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can also follow myself at the PME. And of course, you can follow The Coin at The Coin or Tim and Cust.
Tim and Cust.
not my name, at Tim Anderson 87. I bring the funny.
Do you think that I could get the coin to have more Twitter followers than you?
Yes, you have a lot of Twitter followers. It wouldn't be fair. You'd be able to like juice up the numbers, and like I wouldn't have a chance.
Are you trying to curse the coin's Twitter account?
I'm doing no such thing. I wouldn't dabble in those dark arts.
Do you think Tim went on a heater in games against you because he cursed my health? He cursed my voice away?
Well, that was my first thought when you told me you were sick.
A lot of people have been thinking this.
A weekend with Tim in your place. We'll do that.
It's bringing all them germs in. I live like Howard Hughes. This isn't good. Just bottle up all my own urine the entire time. Anyway, check out the picks cheat sheet in the description of this video or just up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme. You can find all the rest of this week's shows in the description or up on the YouTube page. And please subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Help us get to 10 million downloads and listens for the year. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!